Hello. Great to have you here. My name is Shauna. Today's reading is a general love forecast. As always, take the messages that resonate and release anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected with upcoming readings. Let's see what's headed your way. Astrological wheel to do the reading for you guys, and let's get into the reading. I feel the overwhelming energies that you are going to be dealing with here is learning to speak your truth, making a decision about, being decisive about an opinion, being decisive about where you stand, being assertive about, your truth. So I feel like that's going to be an issue coming up for this month. What I mean by these things is that it seems almost as if you're trying to play mediator, right? And you're seeing both sides of the story, even though I feel like you don't want to offend anybody. You just want to be, inobtrusive. You want to keep your head low, and you don't want to offend anybody. But there's something that you're feeling very strongly about, and I do sense that you need to speak your truth. You need to defend whatever it is that you feel very strongly about. But I feel that you're conflict avoidant. Like you might not want to put your opinions out there. You might want to be, you might be in situations where you're mediating for two people who are in a conflict with each other, and you're seeing both sides of the story. So it's kind of like on the one hand, on the other hand. And so it's difficult for you to pick sides. And, they're saying here, one of the easiest things for you to do, like what would be the saving grace for this month, is for you to look at situations a little bit more objectively, and for you to, detach yourself emotionally from it, and don't make a decision based on who you side with at a situation from an objective or even a rational perspective. That's going to go really well for you, as well as ethical and moral, of course. But I feel like all these things are bundled up, and it's like you don't want to offend somebody. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You want to, play both sides. So they're saying to be a little bit careful about this, and to also, aim for your own truth, okay? The first card out of the spread here indicates your energy that you're bringing to the table. We have here the Ace of Swords in the reverse position. So I feel for a lot of you students, writers, people doing any type of writing projects, like essays, even like writing a proposal, a business proposal, writing a book, even in any publishing industry. What I feel here is a little bit of a creative block, okay? So this is indicative of like communication issues going awry, even not having the inspiration to write, hitting a creative block, or even, a writer's block. When this card shows up in the reverse as your energy, it basically means a situation where you feel almost as if you're going against the tides, you're going against opposition. You're not able to, direct your life in a direction where it feels like it's in alignment with your emotional needs, with your goals, with your aspirations. So I sense like this is going to be a little bit of a problematic month. What I'm also feeling with this card here is this is a card about truth, clarity, and being able to find answers. When it shows up in the reverse position, it basically means some things are hidden from you, but they're saying like, you have the intuitive knowledge in order to sniff out the truth, in order to reason it out, is what they're saying. But I feel that you're looking for concrete evidence, okay? So you're applying logic and rationality in a situation where it actually might require intuition. So I do feel like because you're a water sign, and with this energy as the Ace of Swords, it's a little bit in opposition to your innate element, and it's a little bit of a challenge trying to grapple with this. When it shows up in the reverse as well, I almost feel like you might be put in a position where you don't know how to defend yourself, either with words or with actions. You don't know how to get your point across. You feel like communication is kind of like at a stalemate. You feel like no matter what you do, you can't really rectify a situation. And that's specifically for those of you who are trying to mediate, or are trying to, offer a brokering a peace treaty, or even like offering, like a peace offer, making a peace offer to somebody. So let's move on into your second house here. The second house deals with money and values. And first of all, we have here the Hangman. And this is shown up in the reverse position. In your money house, I feel like some of you are going to have to make some sacrifices about, where your money is going, what, I guess, like vital and essential items you need to purchase versus, cutting back on things that are non-essential, like doing a little bit more budgeting, doing a little bit more like calculation about how much is coming in, how much is leaving. So in terms of your financial situation, I do feel a little bit of like, making sacrifices for things that you want, but you might not absolutely need, okay? And when it shows up in the reverse, I do feel the Hangman as well indicates an overcoming of something. So I feel some of you are kind of like on the tail end of having to make these concessions. And then for others of you, I feel like, finances are going to start to blossom for you for this month, where you're not going to have to make these sacrifices anymore. So it's kind of like coming out of a place of sacrifice. So I feel that it actually looks pretty good. And it's kind of like a reversal, a change in fortune for better or for worse. But I do feel with this card, it's indicative of a situation where we're not waiting in suspense anymore. And what I'm also feeling is, I feel very strongly, some of you have recently, like you might have been applying for work, met with some disappointment or lack of, callback. And then this is the month in which, new work will be made available for you. It might be a little bit outside of your geographical location, so you're trying to decide whether or not to go with it, whether or not to, take up that job offer. And then others are like in a work situation that might be a little bit, I want to say, it might pay you, be below your expectation, and you're landing a new job and you're trying to figure out, how to make things work, like which one to go with. And if it's at a geographical distance from you, then you might have to decide, make these difficult decisions about whether or not it's a good idea to stay or to, venture out with the new job. Third house communications, we have here the Knight of Cups in the reverse position. And the Knight of Cups in the reverse, when it comes to communication, once again, this is almost like, brokering peace treaties. So I feel like somebody's playing mediator, either between family members or between like work colleagues or in a work environment. When it shows up in the reverse position, it's basically like communicating for more of a emotional standpoint. And it's also like allying with people because you have an emotional connection with them, rather than you truly believing in the things that they're doing, in the things that they're espousing. So I feel like you're just going along for the ride. And I want you to be very, very careful about this, because I feel like with so many, communications cards overall in the reverse, I feel almost as if you're afraid of, going against the tide. You're afraid of kicking up a fuss, and you're afraid of upsetting people. So you might do something that is not so much in alignment with your values or the things that you truly, emotionally, deeply believe in. So there's something here about, living in your truth, and don't let other people, their disapproval and things like that affect you. Which brings us to the next card. This is the Hierophant. And with the Hierophant so close to the Knight of Cups, I feel like, it's a whole issue about what do I believe in versus what other people believe in. Am I bandwagoning with everybody else, or am I supposed to, seek my own knowledge, my own truth, and do what I believe is, the harder choice, but it's something that I truly strongly to where your values lie, what you believe in versus what people around you believe in. So we don't always have to agree with people. We can agree to disagree. But whether or not we should stand up for our truths, that's actually very, very important. And, if we don't defend what we feel is the right thing, gradually it basically means that, we start to lose ourselves, our sense of self, our sense of like moral compass, moral integrity as well. It gets corroded slowly. and then we start to lose our sense of self. As a water sign, it's really important for you to figure out where you stand, because I feel that, first of all, it's water is very transient. If you pour water in whatever container, it takes the shape of that container. So I do sense that having a little bit more of a fixed, rigid way of thinking, as well as defending what you believe is right, that's going to be vital for this month, okay? What you yourself believe is right, regardless of the opposition. I feel like standing up for card here, the Hierophant. And the Hierophant basically indicates tradition, order. It's in your 4th house, and the 4th house indicates family, mother figures as well. And I'm going to go talk about the mother figure in a little bit. First of all, in your family environment, I feel like it's tremendously organized. It's kind of like a home, like a family where there's like different, generations living under one roof. It's a house with, 2 parents and, the standard model of a home, 2 parents, 2 kids, a dog. Like it seems to me like it's very, very stable. It's also very traditional. And it seems to me like there is an element of conservatism associated with the household environment. And the mother, for some of you, the mother might have been like somebody who runs the household, who's like a very, very good manager, who knows how to delegate, who can keep the household very, very clean, spotless. Everything has a place, and there's a respectful order and hierarchy, and younger people don't talk back to their elders. So I feel like it's a very traditional, old school type of a home. There's nothing wrong with that. When it shows up in the upright position, it basically means order and stability. You don't have chaos in the house. Everything has a place. But when it's taken to the extreme, it can basically mean, holding on to values that might not be appropriate for you outside of this household context. And so I feel overall, when it comes to your upbringing, when it comes to the things that you're doing, they're really urging you to, re-examine these things and see if they're still appropriate for you in this day and age, especially for you as it pertains to the life experience and the circumstances that you are dealing with for this month. So they're telling you something that you've held on to for a really long time. It's being opposed. It's being challenged from the external environment. And I feel like you might be defending it and not realizing that, it's actually not appropriate for me. Or you might just go along with things that have been put in place without questioning it. Maybe it's not the best, work procedure to pursue, but it has been around for years, so everyone does it. But is that really the most efficient? Is that really the best way to do it? So these things are coming through in many, the theme is being repeated in many cards, okay? So they want you to do a little bit more digging to figure out if it's still applicable for you. It might work for everybody else, but is that still applicable for you? All right? The 5th house here deals with fun, recreation, creativity. And when I look at this card, the way that it's used in this spread, especially, it pertains to, the people that you're going out with, the people that you are having fun with, and how you express yourself creatively, and how you introduce fun into your life, okay? So with the 5 of Pentacles in the reverse, once again, I'm going to say this. I feel, so your creative house and also your friendship house are both 5s. Both of these things indicate, it's almost like re-examining our friendships, re-examining our social circle, re-examining how we entertain ourselves, how we find enjoyment with other people, and whether or not the people are still in alignment with our values, with the things that we want, with the things that we care about, and the things that we want to preserve and protect and value. So I feel like on the financial front, some of you might have been in a relationship, right? Where you might have been isolated from your friends with this 5 of Pentacles. So I feel like in the past, you might have been in a relationship where it was very restrictive. and you and the person had a close-knit relationship. And I feel that in the process, your friendships started to drift. Your friendships were not cultivated. Their friendships, likewise, were not cultivated. And so your friends started drifting away from you. You started cocooning yourself in possibly a bad relationship. And I feel that because of it, you are starting to realize that they're drifting away. So you're trying to do some damage control. You're trying to reconnect with the friends. And you're no longer cocooning yourself. You're reaching out, and you're, realizing as well that this is a situation that, it wasn't maintained. The friendships were not maintained. And as a result, the friendships started drifting away. You started to lose touch with people, and now you're coming out of that. Okay, so you're extending outwards, you're being reached out for, and I feel that this space where you're feeling a little bit more isolated, it's coming to an end. Okay, so I feel like an end to isolation. It's like connecting with people again, but you need to examine whether or not these people are still appropriate, or whether or not they're still in alignment with your life path, whether or not are still growing together or growing apart. Otherwise, in terms of recreation and fun, I feel like a lot of you have something like a income generating activity that you're doing as it relate to a creative talent of yours. This can be singing, dancing, writing, and I feel that you're hoping to do like to have a side gig, to have like multiple sources of income based on these creative. They're saying like some very, very strong traits that might have been passed down through the family, which is, an example of that would be if your mother was a very good artist, you might have inherited something from her. Likewise, from your father, if your father had was a very good musician, you might have inherited some skills. And I feel like it's coming through from the maternal side of the family. So I feel that you are either thinking about making it into a income generating project, singing on the side, or even drawing on the side, doing photography on the side, and then see where it goes and see if you're going to be able to generate money from that, or even use it as a hobby, as a launching pad for, further down the line to pursue a career in it. And I feel like it's going to work out wonderfully for many of you. I keep seeing people working with their hands, so that indicates to me, drawing, ceramic, sculpture, metalsmith, even, working in some capacity. And I see like jewelry making. I do see jewelry making dolls, and I feel like porcelain, a doll with like a porcelain, painting porcelain dolls. So there's some creative skills here that needs to be cultivated, because it can create, a new revenue stream, a new income stream for you. And I feel like it's actually going to be very good for you. Maybe you do like tarot readings as well. So I do feel this is going to be very, very good, okay? They're saying that it's going to take some time for this thing to take off. It's going to take some time. It's going to be a little bit slow. Don't work, they're saying work very, very diligently at it. Don't cut corners. If you are encountering, lack of financing, such as if you're trying to start something and you're not able to connect with the right financiers, or you're not, if there's like some stall energy, whatever, blockages that you're encountering with this creative project specifically, things will lift for you. And as well, these blockages are coming in place because I feel like certain things have to be done in a very, very systematic manner. It's almost as if you can't cut corners, you can't hasten it anymore, because certain elements have to be in place first before this thing will take off, okay? So I do see this is a very, very strong card here that indicates some type of innate talent that can be made into a new income generating, revenue stream. Or it's a situation where you have emerged from a place of isolation and now you're reconnecting with people again, which is always good. And it's birthday time, so I always like to see this card extending out, like extending an offer of friendship, doing things that are in alignment with, just humanity overall. So this is a very good card. The sixth house deals with your daily routine. It deals with your work, and it also deals with your health. We have here the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords, as it deals with your work situation, This might be a character physically, in your work environment that you're contending with, okay? So this is shown up here as an air sign, an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. This is somebody who's very intelligent. It's like they're very sharp, very fast, very nimble. They retain information very quickly, and they're also really articulate. They express themselves with such, flair, such eloquence, and I feel like they don't mince words. They use a minimal amount of words in order to explain very complex, convoluted concepts. And I feel like for some of you, you might be in awe, with this person. Like, you might look at them and you're like, wow, I wish my mind works like that. You might be comparing yourself to them, and then you might be like, I wish, my mind was that agile. I wish I could be that communicative, or even I wish I could be that articulate. And then for others of you, there might be some opposition coming with this person. What I'm also feeling is that I'm getting the message that some of you back taxes. For some of you, like you're being sought after because of some things that were not paid. Overdue bills, collection, I'm sensing, or even back taxes, like if they started to audit, for example, and I feel that there's going to be something uncovered, okay? And they're going to ask follow-up questions. So just keep that in mind. What I'm also feeling otherwise is this might be somebody in your environment that you're having facing some opposition with. And I feel like it's a difference in opinions. And I also feel like their energy is very, very confrontational. Their energy they're really spirited, and I feel like they're easily worked up. And I feel like some of you might be intimidated by this person. You might be in awe of them, where you really look up to them, but deep down there is a sense of like admiration, but also intimidation. So that's coming through. And what I'm also feeling is, I read the cards, and I look at the other cards that have the same element. So the sword cards here basically indicates a situation where, you have this person in your work environment, right? And you've had multiple run-ins with this person. I feel like if you have been conflict avoidant in the past, it's coming back up because it's a recurring theme. It's a recurring lesson. So if this is not dealt with, you want to make sure this is dealt with. This might have been a problem back last year, like 6 months ago, 5 months ago, where you're dealing with somebody like this. And I do feel for some of you, it might just be like a coworker who's very, very competitive. And it might be somebody that you feel is very abrasive. I'm sensing that they might have hurt your feelings in the past. They might have said some mean things. They might have stepped out of line. It's not like you're sensitive and you're, hurt, but I feel like they might have stepped out of line with some of the things they've said in the past. And I feel like you've been dealing with this person for the past 5 months, for the past 6 months. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. And the best way to deal with somebody like this is to be very, very direct. You don't have to confront this person, but I feel like if they're asking something, they're going to be very curt. They're not going to beat around the bush. So don't take offense to it. Just, be very, very direct with them. So I feel like directness, frankness are things that you're avoiding because you don't want to create conflict. But I feel like the other person's not really looking for conflict. They're just looking for answers, and they're impatient. So that's another way you can look at this situation. Maybe they're limited on time, they're impatient, they're looking for answers. They're in the upright position, so I feel like, they're reasonable. So there's something here where you're not jiving well with this person. And it's important to get to the bottom of it, because if you've been dealing with them for the past, 5-6 months, it's not going to go away. And it's a work situation. It seems important that you take care of it, okay? In terms of your relationship sector, what we have here is the Two of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles, this is a card about, juggling things, reassessing, weighing out the pros and cons of a situation before you can take the next step, before you can decide on what to do. So I feel like some of you are dating, And I feel that you are, trying to decide who you want to be exclusive to. So that's like more on the mundane terms. For others of you, I feel like the problem is a little bit more complicated, because I feel like some of you are married and some of you are trying to decide if the relationship is still giving you that emotional satisfaction. You might have been in a very, very stable, but it can also be a stagnant relationship, and you're trying to decide whether or not that's something worth doing. And then others of you are in a relationship where I feel like the relationship has run its course. It's not proving to be, stable. Meaning when you need something, the other person just doesn't seem to be there. And I feel like your emotional needs are also not being met here. And so you're reassessing whether or not to stay in this relationship, this marriage, or to cut your losses and move on. You're still doing the weighing, the pros and cons. And I feel like because you're doing this from a more emotional, you're thinking of it emotionally, you're not looking at it objectively. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind about, because I feel like it's this endless juggling act, trying to find a middle ground, trying to find balance, trying to be fair, trying to figure out, I feel like whenever we're in a relationship with someone, they always have to have some redeeming qualities, right? They can't always be bad. If they were always bad, then it's a easy choice. So I feel like you're making allowances, you're making concessions for somebody, and you need to really think whether or not they deserve it, okay? And then likewise, if you're not emotionally happy in that specific relationship, you need to understand, is it something coming from me or is it coming from the other person? So I feel that some of you are still, trying to figure things out with a relationship. And then others of you, finances are definitely affecting your love relationships in some way. And when it deals with finances specifically, we want to have enough for ourselves. We want to have enough to have like a vibrant, dating life, right? And when we're feeling financially just low and lacking in that financial stability, we don't really want to have a romantic partner come in and, we don't want to shift that burden onto them. So I feel like you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to stabilize your financial situation before you will get out there and date. And I do sense as well, some of you, you're trying to move on with your life, and you still have lingering attachment, lingering feelings to somebody from your past, and you're not able to move on in the manner that you'd hope. So, let the past go. Okay, just let it go, because this is not a good space for you to be in. There's still some unanswered questions from the past, and I'm hoping to be able to flush that out for you in the love reading. But it seems like you still have questions that are not answered. You're not able to get the truth. You're not able to get some closure. So you're still heavily influenced by somebody from your past, and you're not yet able to move on. The 8th house deals with joint finances. So we have here the 10 of Wands. Let me see here. So the 10 of Wands is a situation where, you are physically changing home, shifting home. You might have done this already, or you are thinking about it. This is a card about, putting all of your belongings in a box and then moving from things. So I feel like some of you might have been financially linked up with another person, and you have broken free. You have now enough financial resources at your disposal. And so you're able to move forward, you're able to move on and be on your own. So this is a very, very good card that denotes to me that, you're taking care of yourself. Resources might be just a little bit lacking, but I do feel you're able to do that with grace, with strength, and with, the optimism that things will be okay. I feel like some of you are really enjoying your sense of freedom and your sense of independence. And so some of you might have recently shifted, moved out on your own. You're now really comfortable, even though you have to take care of financial resources on your own. You're still doing it in a really happy manner. So I feel like, this is a good energy for you. And then for others of you, I feel like it's a card where, it's joint finances. So it's like one person bearing the brunt of the responsibilities in a relationship. So if you were married to somebody, living with somebody in the past, I feel like a lot of you might have been involved with a fire sign. So a Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo, that sun, moon, or rising that you were financially linked in with. And I feel like they have picked up the pieces and moved on. And you might be, be struggling with the bills, or you might be struggling on your own. So this is a little bit of a struggle coming through with this card about, how to pay for everything, how to get our financial situation back on track, back in order. But either way, it's a very empowering card because you're actually taking care of things. You're trying to at least, straighten things out. So it's a good card. Ninth house, we have here the World in the reverse, as well as, this is, it deals with travel and education, so higher education specifically. So I'm getting the message here that some of you might be, in a creative field, and you're trying to get something published, and there's a lot of opposition. So this leads me to believe like it might be a research project, dissertation, master's thesis. You might have started it recently, and somebody might have told you like, oh, this is not doable. You need to change such and such. So I feel like you're in the beginning stages of like drafting out a proposal, drafting out a research or a project proposal. And you're encountering a little bit of an opposition. You're like doubting yourself, like, is this going to be doable? And then others of you, with this in the reverse, it basically means some editing, some last minute touches, waiting on the approval of an authority figure in order to get something published, in order to get something out there. And I see a lot of people like, perusing paper and it has their name on it. It's almost as if you're the one that is, it feels to me as if, after that final revision or after that final edit, you're going to be able to get it published. And I keep seeing you have to wake up, you have to get things rolling. You're not done yet. Don't rest on your laurels. Keep at it, work diligently, okay? So I feel like that's what's happening here. And for others of you, they're saying like mobility is actually restricted. So for some reason, I feel like some of you are overseas. Either you are an international student studying in a foreign country to you, and I feel like you are, like you might not know a lot of people, but they're saying there's a lot of people that will be made available for you for this month, and they're advising you to branch out, okay? So there's actually going to be, good connections made with new people, especially for those of you who are international students and you're in a foreign land. And then others of you, there's this overwhelming sense of like homesickness is what I'm sensing. Like, especially if you're living far away from home, it's like contemplating, voyages home, but not being able to do this because of responsibilities, because of work, because of school, whatever reasons. And then others, there's this sense of like having a very, very overpowering, controlling even, or even like a strict family unit, like mother figure or father figure. You might want to go study abroad and you might want to take trips, but there is like practical home front responsibilities that's not allowing you to do that. Okay, so they're saying the opportunity is there, but maybe the timing is a little bit off. So it's not that you can't do it, it's just you need to really sit down and start planning it. Okay, so I feel like a trip sometime for you, it's linked up here with the third house. Possibly in the summertime, in the time of Cancer, in the time of Scorpio. So that is also available for you. Will be able to take this trip. 10th house. The 10th house deals with career, and it also deals with the father figure. So because the axes, like the axes here in astrology, it's so prominent with very, very strong cards. I'm going to talk about the mother and the father figure. I didn't do this for Aquarius because I wanted it to be a little bit more tuned into areas that might be problematic. And it's coming out very strong here. And I feel like a lot of you might have grown up in a very traditional, quite possibly like conservative environment. And you're trying to break away from that. But you might not have you might not know how. And you don't want to, upset people around you. So I feel like you're feeling a little bit restrained or stuck or held back by your environment growing up, okay? And you might have wanted to branch out and pursue like education in a specific field. And your parents might have expected you to do something else. And so there's like, family expectations versus your own expectations, your own desires, your own emotional needs. And trying to grapple with these elements, it's a little bit challenging for this month, okay? We can't live under other people's expectations and shadows. So just so you know, and whenever you are in a career that you pursue because of status, because of expectation, it's never gonna pan out in the way that you'd hope. Mainly because I don't feel that you're going to be emotionally fulfilled. And for you as a water sign, you need to love something, wholeheartedly, heart, body, and soul, in order for you to feel inspired, in order for you to feel good about what you're doing. So I feel like a lot of you are in jobs that, or even in, majors for school that your parents expect, or people around you expect, but you might not be feeling it. You might not enjoy it. So that's coming through for re-examination, all right? And I would say, like, if you're shifting majors, for example, in terms of your career, they're saying, like, really follow the heart, follow it to see, what you excel at, what you really like, what you really enjoy. Because I feel like you're doing this, which is, aligning yourself in a specific career track, because you feel like it's going to give you stability, and because you feel like it might give you that financial, backing, or it might give you that emotional support from other people because everyone is pushing you forward. But is it still in alignment with what you want? Because I feel some of you are still trying to figure that out. So you're not 100% sure. But in terms of your career front, there's some opposition coming in here regarding, what you want versus what other people want. So like, I do sense here some trips, communication, or something like that coming through, like with father figures. So you might like physically want to take a really long trip to see your father. There might have been a situation as well. I feel like some of you might have dropped out of school. So I feel like, this is high school, college. For whatever reason, there might have been family like responsibilities, ailing parents, or whatever the reason is. You might have dropped out of school, and they're telling you this is actually a very, very good time for you to go back to school, because I feel like your career path is being blocked. Maybe because, you might need the credential in order to get a pay raise, in order to lend you credibility. So there's some things here about returning back to school, because it's going to be very beneficial for you long term. So if you haven't finished, try to figure out a way to, at least take the GED test if you haven't finished high school, and try to finish up school, take night classes, do school over the weekend, knock it out of the way. I know it's easier said than done. We have a lot of responsibilities as humans, getting through life. But I feel that this is a little bit of a sore spot, and it would be beneficial for you guys to land better jobs, okay? To find more emotional fulfillment, and to even have that sense of pride, that you have accomplished something that was very, very difficult. So there's some hang-ups here regarding schooling and career. What I'm also getting as well, this is the group association friendships card. In the 11th house, we have here the 5 of Swords in the reverse. And the 5 of Swords in the reverse, honestly, is just not about, it's about not associating with people that are not good for you, okay? So people that might have stirred up a lot of problems, or people that were just, they might not have been, they might not have good intentions, they might not have a good moral compass. So letting go of troublesome elements within your friendship circle, and not even having to explain yourself. It's just, cutting people out. And mainly because you're not jiving with their energy, mainly because you feel almost as if you're no longer in alignment with one another. So this is a good card overall. The 12th house deals with, it's a psychic house, and it deals with hidden things. So basically, things that other people are hiding from you, or things that you are hiding from other people. I feel almost as if you're dealing with a fire sign, and you know this is somebody significant in your life, right? If you're dealing with a fire sign, Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo, and communication has been really, really problematic with this person, I feel like I feel like they're purposely not revealing information about themselves. Like they're purposely keeping you in the dark. So no matter how much you pry, like, you know, the more you pry, the more they shut down. Okay, the more that they distance themselves. So I feel like that's what's happening. So if you're dealing with that, they're telling you to just, you know, leave it alone. Okay, it's not gonna work. And then for others of you, and it's not just romance. I feel like it's somebody significant that you're dealing with, and you feel like they're retreating, they're withdrawing. What are they up to? And you might, you know, try to figure out what they're up to. And I feel there's an element here of them just retreating, not wanting to engage, not wanting to, you know, allow that channel of communication to open up, and they're not being truthful about something that they're doing. Okay. And then for others, I do see something here about your health. Be very, very careful. I feel like physical health, stamina, things like that, being heavily affected for this month. So making sure that you're taking care of your health, get your vitamin C, and especially don't wear yourself out working, worrying so much about coworkers that your immune system is heavily affected. Okay, so just be careful about that. So we're going to go into your love reading, and I have pulled out that card here, Two of Pentacles. I'm going to leave it here. So that's going to serve as the segue into your love and relationship reading. And let me see what's going on for you guys. So what is going on for Pisces 17? Okay, so it's a little bit kind of like different stories. So I feel like, you know, different groups of people are watching this. So let me just say this. While I was shuffling, I was channeling the message about, you know, this card being, should I stay or should I go? You know, is it over or is it not? So there's a lot of like uncertainty here. And you're trying to find your footing. You're trying to find that, you know, closure. You're trying to find that definitive yes or no. And I feel like the answer is it's done. It's over with. There isn't a way to repair it. But I feel like for whatever reason, and I feel like, you know, it's not that you're emotionally in love with another person. It's just that, you know, there's this sense of belief that I put so much of myself in this relationship. You know, I built it from the ground up. And I thought the other person was on board with me. I thought we were going to last. And it turns out I was wrong. So, you know, just the whole concept of, I thought it was real, but it turned out not to be real. And I feel that it's really affecting the way that you approach the other areas of your life now. It's almost as if I don't know what's real anymore. So what I'm sensing for some of you is that, should I stay or should I go? Is it done and over with, or is it not? Are they going to ever come back? Will I ever have a chance to reconcile? And I do sense that the relationship that you're in is not the right one for you. Okay, so if it's done, it's over. If it's done with, it's over. And if you're still contemplating whether or not you still have a second chance, then I do feel that you're looking in the wrong direction. Okay, so there's a lot of like just back and forth. This shifty energy about you for your relationship sector that I feel it's keeping you stuck, it's keeping you in limbo, and it's keeping you very, very stagnant. So they're telling you need to move on. All right, you need to move on. If you want to be happier, if you want to be more emotionally fulfilled, if you even want to put yourself out there and try to meet the right people, you're going to have to move on. And you're going to have to stop replaying, that relationship in the past and whether or not it's truly over. Okay? So let me just talk about how this relates. We have here the Queen of Cups in the reverse and the Knight of Cups, okay? So I feel some of you are dealing with a water sign. And water sign Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And I keep seeing it's almost like two people that when they met, they have a very, very similar life experience. They might have gone through the same things. They might have encountered the same issues in life at the same age, for example. And so automatically when you meet this person, you're like, wow, this person is exactly like me. We're like kindred spirits. We're like soulmates. But a lot of the times, we have a connection to somebody based on, the way that the life experiences that we share. It doesn't always mean that people have learned the lessons the right way. So I feel like one person has been through a lot in life, a lot of hardships, financial, family, education, whatever it is. And the person grew from it. The person is still optimistic. The person is still very, very hopeful and joyful and, appreciates the little things in life. And then the other person who has gone through a lot of hardships and is pretty much broken by it, okay? So I feel there's an element here of some of you have been being involved with or, having been in a relationship with somebody that might have had a very similar history to you. So because of that, you have this natural sense of loyalty to them. You feel like, oh, they've been hurt before. I want to take care of them. I want to make sure they're okay because I've been through it and I wanted someone to take care of me and make things okay. And so there's this also like this martyr mentality associated with it, which is not healthy overall. So they're saying like one person might have like really grown and taken in the life lessons, and their life experience didn't break them. It made them stronger. And then the other person is a little bit jaded. So I feel like, depending on which side of the coin you're on, then you understand, whether or not this applies to you or which person that applies to, okay? Like which person you are. Are you still that optimistic person, or are you the one that is a little bit jaded and a little bit resentful? So I feel like both sides of the coins are at work here. In the past position, we have here the Star, as well as the Four of Coins. And the message that I'm getting is, I feel like you were involved with somebody with a health issue. So either like an emotional health issue, a physical health issues, or some type of they're saying like personality disorder, psychological thing, okay? And I feel like many of you felt almost as if you felt bad for this person. And you stayed and stayed and stayed. And I feel like within that relationship, there was a lot of financial lack. There were a lot of problems. The other person might not have been, sound enough to keep a stable job. And I feel almost like, because it's a medical issue, you felt bad for them. And you felt like, I want to stay and take care of them. I want to make sure they're okay. And you really did love them, but for whatever reason, the longer you stayed, the more you realized that it really affected your financial, situation. It really affected your own mental health, your own emotional health as a result of staying in a relationship and having to give so much of yourself. Whether or not the other person is appreciative, that's not really the point. I just feel like you were running on empty. You don't, or you didn't have any more to give, and yet you still clung on to that, situation, that person, because you understood that it's not them. At their best, they might have been very, very loving, very generous, but at their worst, I feel like they might have some type of a psychosis, like trauma, and they might have been just a little bit broken, okay? So it seems to me like it's a relationship that you try to hang on to, and likewise, somebody tried to hang on to you, and it really affected, the stability in the relationship, as well as, I see a lot of control issues. I feel like somebody might have had like a personality disorder, and there's a lot of, like jealousy, control issues as well. That's what I'm sensing here. And, that's not a positive message by any means, but I feel that you have to understand, they might have needed, they might have needed therapy. They might have needed a psychiatrist. They might not have needed a partner. They needed to take care of things emotionally, like almost in a treatment center. They needed medical help, okay? They needed medical or even psychological help. And being in that relationship, if you felt like you had to leave, don't feel guilty about it, because they didn't need a relationship. They needed help. So I hope that you understand, if that applies to you, I hope that you don't feel guilty about it. You had to do what you needed to do in order to remove yourself from it, because it was hurting both parties, right? And there wasn't an end in sight. They needed help. They don't need a partner, okay? They're not stable or healthy enough to be a well-functioning, well-meaning partner to you. So I feel like there's something here about, hanging on to a person, hanging on to a relationship that was not good, all right? What's coming through in the heart of the reading here? We have the Seven of Swords, and the Seven of Swords indicates lies, deception. And it's also linked up here with the Seven of Wands. So first of all, I feel like somebody was like accusing two people. One person was accusing somebody of infidelity, making false accusations, or even like, anger, jealousy coming out over nothing. So I do sense there's a lot of imbalances here. And with the Seven of Swords, this is kind of like feeling intimidated and afraid of another person. So we can't really confront them head on. We have to rely to underhanded tactics, or wanting to break away from somebody and having to do it in the middle of the night, like having to leave in the middle of the night because of some issues of fear, intimidation. We have here as well the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands, this is a card about, not being able to defend ourselves, not being able to stick to our true values, not being able to speak out for what we believe in out of fear of reprisal or fear of intimidation or whatever it is. I do feel like a lot of you were in situations where you almost, it seems like you don't trust the other person, or you didn't trust the other person, but you couldn't even catch them in the act. You didn't have actual proof to confront them with it. But I feel like your intuition was telling you everything that you needed to know. All right. And then I feel like for others of you, you've met somebody new here, which is, another water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. You're feeling quite good. You're going out doing a lot of recreational things together. And I feel like a lot of you are reconnecting with people from your past. So like there's a myriad of things that are happening. But I feel the overwhelming theme here is a lot of you have left a very, very toxic relationship. And I feel as well, you might be jumping too soon into a new relationship, wanting to make that work, wanting to create an idyllic situation for that. But I feel like you need to heal yourself first, okay? Crowning this reading is something that you're thinking about. We do have the Justice card, and this is court, legal issues, separation, child custody. All of these things are weighing heavily on your mind, as well as your financial situation. So I feel like there are a lot of financial blockages preventing you from meeting new people. You need to get your foundation fixed. You need to get everything squared away so that you can be in the right emotional space to invite somebody else back into your life, okay? Or somebody new into your life, or like a person that you've never dated, to allow them to come into the picture. What's coming through in the future position, we have here the sun, and with this in the reverse, it basically means that one of, I guess, like positive body image, or even like understanding what you're worth. Otherwise, the people that you're attracting, it's like the same story being played out over and over again. So this is a card about self-esteem here. When it shows up in the reverse position, it basically means that if you're not whole, and you know, if you're not whole, if you're not feeling whole, if you're not feeling empowered, if you're not feeling as if you're confident enough to attract people that are good for you, you might not be able to do that successfully. So they're saying that a lot of healing needs to take place from your end, and that boost of self-confidence needs to happen first, as well as that career success, feeling very, very good and stable in what you're doing, the work that you're doing, before you are able to move on from this, before you're able to stop cycling with, you know, people from the past, stop thinking about people from the past and ruminating over people from the past that might not have been good for you. So I feel like a major like paradigm shift needs to happen for many of you. And I do sense as well, you might be reconnecting with somebody from the past, and that has this energy that's not entirely positive, okay? So Pisces, I don't like to see this for you guys. I hope you're able to clear this up, okay? I hope this gives you enough insights to figure out what to do. At the same time, I'm going to be back for the mid-month reading, because I really want to flush this out a little bit. This is not a card that I want to see for, you know, relationship sector. And especially, it indicates to me a situation where we're fluctuating back and forth, and not making a decision, or not being able to make a decision. So I'm going to be back for the mid-month reading and see what's going on. And at the same time, if you'd like a private reading with me, please visit my website. The information is in the description box below. If you also like to donate to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. The donation link is below as well. So I wish you the best, Pisces. Happy early birthday for those who are celebrating, okay? Take care of yourself, Pisces. Bye-bye.